On today's show, who are the Ottawa Senators' top 10 prospects in the summer of 2025?
We take a look at some of the prospects that have risen and others fallen, and honorable mentions.
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. On the outskirts of enemy territory, I'm Ross Levitan, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season and hockey season are around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures now. Today is Thursday, August 28th, and Pillsy, summer coming to an end. And we realized we haven't updated the top 10 Sens prospects list. So here's a bonus Thursday episode. We still have our Ring of Honor tomorrow, but had to get this out before the organizational value rankings.
Yeah, I mean, our content calendar was absolutely packed, so we couldn't find a way to do it within the confinements that Locked On holds us to, doing only 3 shows a week for a certain amount of time. So here we are, bonus episode. We just can't, Ross. We finished a series making lists, and we were like, you know what we need to do? We got to make another list here. Let's squeeze a list in. In between our list making and drafting, we did a bonus list episode
about draft picks. And
Yeah.
Here are the top 10 Sens prospects right now. Before we look at where we are heading into the 2025-26 campaign, let's look back at the last time we made our list. And we've been doing this since 2021, I believe, was our first top 10 Sens prospects. So you can go find our old ones wherever you get your podcast. Could be a fun re-listen, as things have obviously developed enough where some of them look really bad and others look really good. We're hoping for more of the latter in this exercise. But we last did this during the Four Nations break. And in the winter of 2024, here were the top 10 Sens prospects. If you're watching on YouTube, you got the whole list. But I'm just going to ask you like this, Billsy. Which one was the most head-scratching when you opened it up and said, wait, we had him there?
I would say the top 5 is understandable. I don't have any issues, or I wouldn't change anything in the top 5. I guess maybe Sabrango at 6.
Yeah, that surprised me a bit. And we've considered him aged out as a prospect now. He's 23 years old in that 2020 draft as well. Not a part of the Sens Hall, but that's now 5 years ago. So we did keep Leevi Merilainen. We know goalies typically take a little bit longer to develop, and he is Calder eligible despite the fact that all signs point to him starting the season in the National Hockey League. We did still consider him a prospect. Zach Ostapchuk, we had at 3rd. Obviously, he's been traded, so guaranteed to be movement as we begin this year's list. And we do that at the bottom at number 10, Gabriel Eliasson. Why is Gabriel Eliasson a top 10 Sens prospect? When you look at just the counting stats, it doesn't necessarily jump off the page.
Yeah, I think the reason he's hanging on to this list for me, Ross, is there is hopeful potential. Obviously, his game and his work handling the puck and putting up points and things like that has a long way to go. I think that's fair to say from anyone that's watched him and followed along with Eliasson. But on the flip side of that, it's hard to ignore where he's good. He is one of the best in his physical game. Now, does he need to find that line? Yes, but that's why it's good he's in the OHL, not college. I think it's great that he's able to play a little bit more of a tougher, meaner game in OHL, and he's going to have to find ways to pick and choose his time to use that physical strength and that meanness, so he's not putting his team in trouble by getting bad penalties and possibly changing the outcome of the game because he just wanted to get an extra cross-check in or something like that. But if he's able to round out his puck skills, he could be a dominant force on the back end, and that's what we're hoping for. Friend of the show, Gabe Eliasson.
Yeah, it's also worth mentioning, too, that he was one of the youngest players in the 2024 draft. So he's really, in all intents and purposes, going into his draft plus 1 year now in the Ontario Hockey League. That's how I'm selling it, is that there's more runway. with a player like this. And now that he's comfortable in Barrie, he's going back to Barrie this upcoming season. They should have a good team.
Yep.
I think Gabriel Eliasson, it's an important year for him now after finishing 5th in the Ontario Hockey League in penalty minutes and closer to 550th in points. But he's never going to be a point producer. It's just, can he impact the game more positively than negatively in a way where you're giving your team momentum, not putting them shorthanded? And I hope he can do it because it's such a unique frame at 6'8", 225 pounds. Like, he could be a very unique defenseman if he does pan out. So Gabe Eliasson goes down from number 7 to number 10 on our top 10 Sens prospects. And at number 9, a newcomer, Xavier Bourgault. Pillsy, you fought for him, and I relented. I agreed after you sold it. So why is Xavier Bourgault, who was acquired in the Roby Yarventi trade last offseason, finding his way at 22 years old onto our top 10 list?
Well, I've never been in a fight in my life, Ross. So you saying I fought for him is about accurate. I think I mentioned that I'm interested in having him on the list and that he was on my list. So that's about as mean as I'll get. I could maybe take some lessons from Gabe Eliasson on how to fight. But look, I wanted to try it on. I wanted to see how it feels to be a Xavier Bourgault guy. When he got here, we were interested in it. That was the Roby Yarventi trade to Edmonton. So 2 underwhelming, higher picked prospects traded for each other, hoping a change of scenery would help. Now, he didn't exactly pop off the page, but I do like the idea and the potential that Bourgault brings along. A first-round pick in 2021, 22nd overall, rather. In his first year in Belleville, 26 points in 61 games. I was watching some of his highlights this morning. I see the potential there. He's only 22. I think he's going to be put in positions to succeed in Belleville. So I think, and other entities like the Athletic and Elite Prospects, they usually have him on the Sens top prospect list. So I think it's time we give him a bit of shine, a bit of love here, and really open our minds to the idea that Xavier Bourgault could be a top 10 Sens prospect.
He was so sick in junior, numbers just skyrocketing off the page. His last year in the QMJHL, he had 75 points in 43 games, and even had a good rookie season in Bakersfield where he had 34 points in 62 games with 13 goals, but then it was a big step backwards. And then last year, again, change of scenery, and the end of his year was great. He actually had 12 points during the final 16 games of the regular season for the Belleville Senators. So for that reason, a guy who can play center, play wing, Xavier Bourgault comes in at number 9. Moving on to number 8 on our list of top 10 Sens prospects right now. And versatility shines again. Oskar Pettersson, pew, pew, Pistol Pete, 2022 third-round draft pick. And he has now settled in nicely as a role player in Belleville. I think this is the year where he's hoping to get more looks offensively to show what he can do on the score sheet, not just killing penalties, being fast, disrupting plays defensively.
Yeah, a big reason why I have Oskar Pettersson here, Ross, is the fact that I can visualize him having an NHL role in a bottom 6 type spot, right? And you mentioned he's played center a bunch this year in Belleville, something Coach David Bell asked him to do, and he was willing to do that even though he hadn't played center. He was saying since he was like a kid, he hadn't played center. So big adjustment, but he's willing to do it. And he's someone that's really getting some recognition from the Ottawa Senators franchise as he won hardest worker in Dev Camp. Finally, I think everybody's starting to understand the work Oskar puts into his craft and the way he wants to be better. And what I really liked, Ross, is from our interview with Belsey when we brought up Pistol Pete, he said this guy is able to self-analyze himself so great, self-evaluate himself. Like he's able to be like, okay, here's where I'm good. Here's where I'm decent. Here's where I'm bad. How do I kind of bring all those together and improve myself to become a better all-around player? And I really see Oskar Pettersson as a guy that's going to have an opportunity to, maybe not this year, Ross, but coming up soon, I think he's going to get a look in the NHL.
Yeah, he only had 9 goals in 67 games, but he did score 4 of them in the final 8 games of the regular season. So something to keep an eye on with Pettersson because, yeah, the route for him to get to the NHL is going to be in a defense-first role when he gets there. But I think this is the year for him to show he's got some offensive pop with his game too and could catch the attention of the management team in Ottawa even sooner for that call up. I'm fired up for his rookie lap.
Yeah, it'll be great. This just popped into my head, Ross, but I could kind of see like the Cole Reinhardt path for Oskar Pettersson. Does that fit for you, or am I off there?
Yeah, I'd just say don't take a penalty in the third period in your debut.
I mean, he's got a two-year one-way deal in Vegas, so I don't think he's too worried about that. But
yeah, fair.
But that's just the type of guy that I think if you can really mold yourself into that style of player, he could find himself on a bottom 6.
Yes. So Oskar Pettersson comes in at number 8. He moves up from number 10 in our organizational value rankings. Safe to say, Bourgault was not on our list, as I mentioned, a bit of surprise, but makes sense when you think about it, that Bourgault would come in at number 9 and then Gabe Eliasson at number 10. The countdown continues in a moment. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Guys, the NFL season is almost here. We're getting close, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers, this is a great time to join. Just bet $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love FanDuel. It's my go-to sports betting app because it's easy to use. They have all types of bets, player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game even more exciting. Whether you're watching your team or you're just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup, you got to do it with FanDuel because
it's quick. Do you know what I'm looking at right now? We talked yesterday, Mike DiStefano and I on Locked On NHL, about Team Canada and the roster at the Olympics. You can actually bet on individual players, whether they're going to make the team or not. And I pointed out Mackenzie Weegar at plus 600. I love that line.
All right. Well, Ross is looking ahead to February, so he's waiting for the NFL to be over before he's making any bets.
The Bears.
Yeah, good luck with that. But if you want to bet on NFL or the hot topic, the Olympic rosters, you can do that on FanDuel. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your $5 bet.
All right, Billsy, right back to our top 10 Senators prospects list after telling you that tomorrow is the Ring of Honor, the final Ring of Honor of the season. We're at over 20 in our playlist on YouTube, nice. So you can catch up on any whenever you'd like on demand. But we are going to be drafting the Sens core. So going into this season or in the next 5 years, there's going to be some debates before the lists are even made, but we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm still a little fuzzy on the wording there, and we'll see how that shapes out. But Ross, this has been arguably my best Ring of Honor season, and you and Martian, you like to have your jokes, you like to pretend that I'm the third guy in the mix here, but I think I haven't finished third since like the first one of this season, so. You're the guy that needs to make a strong finish here, Ross. It's been a tough go for you recently.
It has, but when you say that we just like decided to go at you, dude, reputations are earned, not given. You had years of struggling with your 3rd and 4th round picks.
It's true. It's called rebuilding. I've rebuilt. I'm now in the contending stage.
And I'm maybe getting a little old. Okay, these guys are all young. They're the top 10 Sens prospects right now heading in to the 2025-26 season. We've already done 10 through 8, which brings us to number 7. That's going to be Jorian Donovan, who I think still has some sky-high potential.
Yeah, Jorian Donovan is an interesting player because he's only played 1 year in Belleville. Obviously, the son of former Ottawa Senator Sean Donovan. But they said even if there wasn't that connection, they liked him as a player. And there's good reasons why. In his rookie season with the Belleville Senators, 64 games, 3 goals, 9 assists, 12 points, finished a -9. That might not pop out at you, but I really get the sense that in his second season, he's going to have an understanding of what the league is like, where he fits in on this team. And he's just such a smooth skater, and he's got the hockey IQ. So I really see the potential for Jorian Donovan in the future.
He's going to be 21 years old this entire season, 6'2", over 200 pounds. And he's really adopted kind of that, let's call it, he's not as big as Matt Karkner, but the Matt Karkner mindset, or other defensive Mark Borowiecki, another 5th-round pick when he was coming up, where he's realized that he's going to start on a bottom pair, and how can he impact the game? He dropped the gloves a few times this year. He's throwing some hits as a young guy in the league. Like he's going to be a guy who wills his way to the National Hockey League. I see almost a similar trajectory of Donovan Sebrango in a sense. We'll see how quickly Jorian Donovan can get to the NHL, get that first game. I think probably the 26-27 season is likely, and just let him play down there. It's going to be a young left side of the blue line. If it's Hummer up there with them, if Andonovski doesn't get sent back for his overage season, they've got young guys signed, and it's about establishing himself now with a year further along pro hockey, that he is a legitimate option to play on the second pair in Belleville. Would you say that would be a successful season if he's playing on the second pair behind Sebrango?
Yeah, totally. He's a feisty guy. I really think that for him to play over 60 games, 64 games in his rookie season, that speaks volumes, right? Like they could have been like, we don't know if he could handle this workload, this many games, because a lot of the time, later draft pick going into their first pro season, they'll get eased in and sheltered. But it didn't seem like Coach Bell and the rest of the staff there in Belleville really felt like they needed to do that with Donovan, or they're just like, hey, we're going to throw you to the fire and you're going to learn lessons this year, and that's going to prepare you for the developing in the further seasons here.
Jorian Donovan coming in at number 7. He was not on our top 10 in the winter, but going back to last summer, he was at number 6. So we like him a lot in the summer, Pilsy.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know why we omitted him. It's funny to see how our lists change, because it can be influenced in different ways, but that's the reason you do these lists. You want to keep track and you want to be accountable for your takes.
Number 7, Jorian Donovan. At number 6, just drafted, goalie Luca Beckman. And you don't have to look much further than the reaction when Ottawa picked him, or the reaction of all the guys we asked after Sens Dev Camp, which goalie was the hardest to score on. Luca Beckman almost clean sweeped it. Everybody was impressed with his game.
Luca Beckman was such good value for the Ottawa Senators in this draft. And let me just take a quick second to give praise to the Ottawa Senators scouting staff for this draft, because we've been hard on them. The online scouting community has been hard on them, I would say fairly and rightfully so, but they nailed this draft in my opinion. And getting a guy like Luca Beckman in the 4th round, 97th overall, he had an awesome season in the queue, finishing 52 games, 2.65 goals against, a 914 save percentage. And then he continued in the playoffs with the 257 and 922. So just consistent, solid numbers. And I'm excited to follow this guy's progression, because it's nice, Ross. I feel like French Canadian goalies, they had their moment in like our younger era of the NHL, and then they fell off and it became like the Finnish guys. And now it seems like it's the Russian goalies that are the new kind of pinnacle. I want to see French Canadian goalies get another rise here. So hopefully Luca Beckman can be a part of that surge.
Yeah, my goal for Luca Beckman, and it might be a lofty one, is I want him to work his way into the mix, not this upcoming year, but in the 2027 World Juniors, Pilsy. We want to be seeing Luca Beckman starting for Team Canada. And that, to me, would be very nice to see, but it's also realistic in the sense that he is also a very late birthday for this draft class. He only turned 18 last week. So he, as a 17-year-old for the whole season, overtook a 19, 20-year-old guy to be the starter in Baie-Comeau. And that mentality and that ability to step up and just take the reins, literally in the sense, this guy played how many games last year? I got it up. He played 52 games in the regular season and then 11
the season before.
Insane
Yeah.
move for him. He was even playing Quebec Midget AAA just a season earlier than putting up a .922 save percentage in the postseason. I'm so excited about this kid, and I'm looking forward to watching him develop in the Quebec League over the course of the season.
The only thing I'll say, Ross, is I like your goal of him being the starter for Team Canada, but, and maybe this is just a feeling I have, maybe you can fact check me and maybe I'm totally off, but I feel like recently goalies that have been the starter for Team Canada, there's a lot of hype around them and they don't end up panning out, and the guy that starts the tournament for Team Canada usually is not the guy that finishes it. So I don't know if it's a bit of a Madden curse type thing to be the starting goalie for Team Canada's World Junior team, but that makes me a little nervous.
Yeah, well, the one guy, though, that George kid a couple of years ago, he was
Carter
good.
George.
Carter George was good.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that one guy a couple of years ago. Yep.
Yeah. Well, hey, Ottawa's got one of the funniest prospect goalie at the World Junior stories. The fact that on that elite lockout year team with Crosby, Jeff Carter, Mike Richards, Shea Weber, everyone else who was in that, the goalie was Cody Glass. So Jeff Glass. And we're like, yeah, the Senators have the starting goalie on that team. He's going to be sick. Played 15 NHL games, and it was as a 32-year-old after grinding away. That was actually a good story. I remember that.
Great story.
32-year-old rookie goalie. Hey, chance is still there for you, Pillsy. Not me. I'm 33 now.
I got my mask here. I'm ready. Although I get shelled in beer league, so I don't know if that's a good call.
Well, I'm ready for the top 5 Sens prospects right now. So let's get to that after a quick word. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Look, let's be honest. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's your 401k, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. Don't do that. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Let Monarch Money do the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally, feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. God knows I can't use a spreadsheet. Do you have subscriptions that you forgot you're paying for? It happens to all of us. Link your accounts to Monarch and immediately spot those subscriptions you aren't using and cancel those to save money. Monarch makes it simple to review your finances with your partner, see budgets, goals, and spending activities all in one place. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNHL.
All right, Pillsy, the top 10 is halfway complete. And so far, we've got at number 10, Gabe Eliasson with the Barrie Colts, Xavier Bourgault, Oskar Pettersson, and Jorian Donovan, all with the Belleville Senators. And then at number 6, with the Baie-Comeau Drakkar, goaltender Luca Beckman. We got the top 5, and we've got our honorable mentions and who we think could be on this list when we do it again during the Olympic break in February. But at number 5 right now, it's Blake Montgomery. What a shine Blake Montgomery had in his draft +1 season, going to London, winning the Memorial Cup, showing that he can play in a bottom 6 role or as a top-line point producer. He did it all. And now he's going to try a new challenge with Wisconsin in the NCAA.
Yeah, I mean, speaking on value for the Ottawa Senators, getting Blake Montgomery in the 4th round again at 117th overall in the 2024 draft. Whew, that was awesome. I'm a big Blake Montgomery guy. Obviously, I think every Sens fan is. We're starting to understand his true potential. He just lights it up wherever he goes. USHL. Then he says, okay, I've had enough of that league. Let's go to the OHL. Let's join the London Knights. Go win a championship there. All right, had enough of that league. Now it's time to go to the NCAA with the Wisconsin Sens Badgers. That team's going to be so much fun to watch for Sens fans. And Blake Montgomery I think he's going to thrive there.
So do I. And he was drafted, let's remember, as a draft +1. So he's already 20 years old. So it's fast forwarded 1 year. I hope it's a one and done situation. I just see him as a pro hockey player. He's got the 6'4" frame. I'm sure he'll be over 200 pounds by the time the season's done, if not already at Wisconsin. This is going to be a fun year for him, and one where I think he can catapult himself right up into pro hockey afterwards, which would be great to see out of a 4th round pick that quickly. So Blake Montgomery, rightfully so, comes in at number 5. It's exactly where we had him when we did it last February. Just the team changes again. And that's another theme in Blake Montgomery's life since going to Lincoln. Played the full season there, then only 10 games, going to London, now going to Wisconsin. So 3rd straight season where he's playing mostly on a different team. So we'll see how quickly he can adjust. And he's already king of the camera. Have you seen that? All the content coming out there. I think he must have just found a cowboy hat somewhere in the facility. He's been rocking that thing all over social media.
I love that. I mean, he's a star. There's no reason why Wisconsin social shouldn't be really focusing on him and giving him some shine. Like, what's a realistic amount of points you think he can get in his debut NCAA?
Wisconsin's tough because they've historically been a team that maybe doesn't score so much. I mean,
and they're in a tough division.
They're in a tough division for sure. But if you go to their stats from last year, their top scorer had just over a point per game, 40 points in 37 games. Then they had one other player at a point per game. Nobody else.
This is a very different team now.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah, it's a different team. Let's say he'll get 15 goals and 22 assists for 37 points.
Yeah, I was going to say point per game territory. So.
Yeah, in college you play 37 games. So point per game territory and double-digit goals. That's what I'd like to see from Blake Montgomery. And I'd also like to see the reality show with him and Bruno.
Blake and Bruno, let's go.
Just tearing it up on Madison Ave. All right. Stephen Halliday is at number 4. And I think this is the last time he'll find himself on a prospect list. He's 23 years old all season, but we kept him on here because we think he deserves recognition as a prospect. Just finished his rookie season with the Belleville Senators, 19 goals, 51 points in 71 games, led the team in scoring, and the coach loves him. I think that this could be the season where we see Stephen Halliday make his NHL debut.
Yeah, it's very possible, especially with the center depth of this organization, Ross. I would say it's fair to say that he's the number 5. So if there would be an injury to center, maybe we see a situation where he gets the call up and has a chance to play 4th-line center for the Ottawa Senators. But Stephen Halliday, I mean, everybody knows this guy's a disher. He's able to move that puck around so well, sets his teammates up, but do not sleep on his shot and his scoring ability as well. Would have been nice, Ross, for him to get 20, finishes with 19 goals, but I think he's got surprising size. I feel like people don't really realize that he's 6'4", 212 pounds.
Human being.
Big dude. He is an athlete. Just say the word tennis around him and he'll chat your ear off for half an hour. He loves playing tennis. He's got quick feet. He's smart. He's got agility. There's just so many things to like about his game. I think the one area where we got to focus on is the defense now. Certainly he can put up points, but I think he might have been a victim of a depleted top 6 in Belleville, where maybe defensively they weren't able to hold up throughout the year. So I want to see him work on the defensive side of his game a little bit. And but other than that, elite offensive skill.
The durability was great to see as a rookie in the AHL as well. Only Jeremy Davies played one more game than Stephen Halliday, and that's the most he could play, 72-game season there. So 71 games for Halliday. Hey, the Ohio State facilities must have made sure that he was ready to go. Must be something in the their athletic wear that he's still rocking every single day. Stephen Halliday at number 4. He was number 4 when we did this in February. Coming at number 3, someone who wasn't a member of the Ottawa Senators when we last did this. We're putting Logan Hensler at number 3, coming out as the 23rd overall pick at this NHL draft.
Yep, Logan Hensler. He is an interesting prospect because I feel like finally the Ottawa Senators got a pick that the majority of the online community really liked, especially the value of trading back and still getting their guy, plus using that pick they acquired to get Jordan Spence. Like, it was just an all-around smart move. A right-hand shot defenseman with decent size, but the big thing with Hensler is his skating. He's a smooth skating defenseman that's going to be able to play a good defensive game because of his skating ability, and you hope that that's going to translate to offense as well, now that he's got a little bit more weapons in Wisconsin, in Blake Montgomery, Bruno Eugene, to try to help move that puck up the ice to get it to those guys. I think he was one of the players that the first half of his NCAA rookie year was not great. It was a learning process, but then the second half, he really changed things up and figured it out if you read a lot of scouting reports and game logs. So I'm excited about Logan Hensler. I know, obviously, when we did our prospect profile of him, Ross and I were a little lukewarm on him, to say it politely, I guess. But now that you start doing the research and you're not just looking at highlight packs and expecting explosive moves, which is just not going to be Logan Hensler. He plays a smooth, smart game. I think he's got good potential.
Not that he needs any more motivation, but he already has a World Junior gold medal in his back pocket from last winter in Ottawa, but it's a hometown tournament for him in Minnesota for this year. So he's going to be playing for that. He's going to be playing to show the Ottawa Senators that they made a great pick, taking him in the first round. I think it's going to be a fun year to watch Logan Hensler. He turns 19 in October, so we've done a lot of talk about late draft birthdays and guys who have maybe more runway. Well, Logan Hensler is closer to a 2024 draft pick. So let's see him in his second year in college really dictate the play, and the pace of the breakout would be something that I'll be watching for with Logan Hensler, who makes his debut on our top 10 Sens prospect list at number 3, bringing us to the top 2. And I'm sure there are a few eyebrows raised how Logan Hensler's number 3. And that's probably among the 30% that voted on Twitter at Sens Central that Leevi Merilainen is not a prospect anymore after signing a one-way contract and being 5 years removed from his draft. He's still the only 2020 draft pick that we've got on our top 10 list this year. But Leevi Merilainen, to us, still a prospect, Calder eligible. And if he can even put out 80% of the skill that he displayed in the National Hockey League last year, he'll be just fine as the full-time backup.
Yeah, I think it's a tough discussion with, are you a prospect if you're in the NHL? I think majority of people got it right here. I mean, Leevi Merilainen, he's only played, 14 NHL games. And yeah, he is slated to be the backup, and he's getting paid to be the backup. But I just think it's such a small sample size. He's still so young that he's not a guy that's actively been an NHLer and is a sure thing to be in the NHL all the time. Ross, you even threw out an idea of ways to get him in Belleville to start the year and during the Olympic break, right? Like, with guys that aren't prospects and aren't active for sure NHLers, you don't do that, right? Like, there was never those kind of ideas with like Jake Sanderson or Tim Stützle to get them down in Belleville to get them a couple extra games or anything like that, right? So I just think especially with goalies, it's a little different. I do believe Merilainen is a prospect, but now that we've stated that, we can move past that and talk about why this guy is so good. I mean, the numbers he put up in Ottawa were incredible. 12 games, 1.99 goals against. You love being under 2, 925 save percentage, 3 shutouts, 8-3-1 record. But don't forget about what he did in Belleville. And Belleville was not a great team last year. In 37 games, 2.37 goals against, 913 save percentage, 4 shutouts, 18-12-7 record. And we got to say it every time we talk about Leevi Merilainen, Ross. This guy is an elite one-on-one goaltender. Get him in shootouts, get him in penalty shots, get him on breakaways, and more often than not, he is shutting the door. Just ask David Pastrnak about how he is in the shootout. So Leevi Merilainen is a very exciting prospect for the Ottawa Senators.
Calm, cool, collected. 3 things you want to hear about your goalie prospect, and Merilainen's got all of them in spades. He's so efficient with his movements in the crease, and we're looking forward to seeing what he can do this upcoming season. Another contract year after Merilainen signs that 1-year, one-way extension. Coming in at number 1, no surprise, it is the highest draft pick among Senators prospects from 2024 draft, 7th overall, Carter Yakemchuk.
Yeah, he's the blue chip pinnacle prospect for the Ottawa Senators, unless you ask Elite Prospects and Locked On Prospects host Sebastian High. He's got Hensler ahead of him. But I think it's just, if Yakemchuk hits his potential and does what he's expected and believed to be able to do, he's just so dynamic. A big right shot defenseman with a booming shot from the point. He's going to be a power play guy for sure. He is able to execute big open ice hits. I think a lot of people look at 2023, 2024 Yakemchuk, he finished 71 points in 66 games. And then compare it to last year, where in 56 games, he had 49 points and say that maybe that's a disappointment. But I think you also need to look at the fact that these are very different Calgary teams. In his previous year, Calgary was near the bottom of the league. They were not a good team. He was just racking up points, and they weren't really worried about playing a structured game to win games, I would say. Maybe that's not fair to say, but and then this year, they had a much better team. They're trying to make playoffs, and everyone knows Yakemchuk can score and put up points, but you got to round out that game if you want to develop into a pro. So he switched from a -6 to a +6. He had less points because he was focusing more on defense. And then he got a taste of the playoffs too, where in 11 games, he had 7 points. So I wouldn't say last season was a soaring success for Yakemchuk, but I think if you zoom in and you start looking at what he needed to improve on, I would say it was a success because he adapted differently than he did the previous year.
And what's fun about Carter Yakemchuk is he's got hands like a 6'0" winger. He can dangle out there. It's so fun. When Toronto Maple Leafs saw that last preseason on Yak's overtime winner, and he finished it off. He plays a premium position, and he has a premium, unique skill set to go along with it. I don't want to expect too much of him this year, but man, would it be impressive if he pops off for 50 points or something in the AHL and really kind of puts his stamp on it. Because there are still Carter Yakemchuk doubters out there. Yep. They say he's got heavy feet. They say he can't defend well in his own zone. They say his decision-making suspect. You're going to let them think that, Carter? Let's see an unreal draft +2 season, and they could send him back to the AHL or the WHL for his overage year.
No, that'd be
all signs point to him starting in Belleville, where he'll have a veteran partner in all likelihood, Donovan Sabrango, and we'll have an opportunity to run the first power play unit. Obviously, Jeremy Davies did that last year and is no longer in the mix.
You know what I think about, Ross? Oh, sorry. Did you want to complete that thought there?
I was just going to say that they did add a lot of right shot defensemen, though, so minutes are going to have to be earned for Yakemchuk.
It's true, which is good. You don't want to just have that warm, soft spot waiting for you, top power play, top pair defenseman. You got to earn it, and Belzy will make him earn it for sure. With Yakemchuk being in Belleville on the power play, I think about all the highlights when we were covering Ben Kindle, how him and Kindle had such great chemistry. Imagine Yakemchuk and Halliday on that top power play unit for Belleville, because the way Halliday is going to be able to set him up and vice versa, it's going to be so much fun to watch. The Belleville Senators need Yakemchuk to be there, Ross. They need a exciting, fun prospect to really get that community engaged, because it's been a while since they had like a high blue chip guy there.
Yep. And they were spoiled early on when they had Drake Batherson, Josh Norris,
Logan
Rudy
Brown.
Balsers.
Yeah.
Our top 10 Sens prospects in the summer of 2025. Carter Yakemchuk at number 1, Leevi Merilainen at number 2, followed by Logan Hensler, Stephen Halliday, and Blake Montgomery to wrap up the top 5. They're joined by Luca Beckman, Jorian Donovan, Oskar Pettersson, Xavier Bourgault, and Gabriel Eliasson. Those are the top 10 Sens prospects right now. And it heads perfectly into our organizational value rankings, Pilsy, that'll start on Monday.
Yep, excited for that. That's the granddaddy of all lists we do. What are we at? We're at 65 players, Ross?
Yes, after adding Cam Crotty.
65 players. Since I mentioned off the top, Ross, let's just quickly rip our honorable mentions. I really wanted to get Bruno Eugene in on this list, but he didn't quite make it. Javon Moore, I think, is going to be an interesting player, and I think he deserves some shine as well. And Lucas Alanis was another guy for me I considered.
Yeah, we made our own list here. So if you're watching, Pilsy can't spell Montgomery, but other than that, it's perfectly executed on both ends. And you had Hensler ahead of Merilainen. I won that battle.
Yep.
And then you got Xavier Bourgault, who was an honorable mention for me, and 7 for you, up to 9. I had Javon Moore at 9. I think that his potential and just the growth, like when he was on with Mila a couple weeks ago, just saying like, man, I was 6'2" at the NHL scouting combine. He's 6'5" now, still growing. Says he's always growing, Billsy, always growing.
That's good. Well, as are all of us, Ross. We're always growing.
Last name I wanted to throw out there is Kevin Riedler. Didn't play a whole lot last season. That's being very nice. Played 2 games.
Yeah.
All season.
Crazy.
But now he's at Penn State. Opportunity to be the starter. Great team. National broadcast. Spotlight's going to be on that team. I think he could make some noise this season. And wouldn't it be nice if that 2022 draft found a couple pieces? Jorian Donovan, if Kevin Riedler, if those guys. Would be nice after not having a first, second, or third round pick. And shout out Hoyt Stanley too.
Hoyt Stanley's awesome.
He's just going to be one of those guys that just like no fanfare ever, and then he'll somehow play 400 NHL games.
Love it.
Yeah. So shout out Hoyt Stanley, honorable mention. I'll add that to the mix. I'm excited to add one more Ring of Honor to the mix, and we're also brainstorming the top storylines going into Sens training camp, which is like 3 weeks away. So if you've got any storylines that you're fired up about, let us know in the comments on YouTube, and we're going to compile a list. We'll do an episode on the top storylines and then dive into each one as we get closer to the regular season. For today, we say goodbye.
I got a final thought. I know we're trying to keep it tight here, but we'd be remiss not to talk about this. Welcome back to the Allen Americans.
Wow.
The Ottawa Senators are back affiliated with the Allen Americans for their ECHL team. That's good, Ross. I know it's a minor thing, but you should have an ECHL team just so that you can kind of manage those guys that are maybe not quite there yet when it comes to the AHL, but still need a place to play under your control, under your franchise umbrella. So I just wanted to quickly shout out that the Sens are back with the Allen Americans.
Right after we heard about how sick it is playing in Orlando.
But that wasn't their official ECHL team. They were just kind of throwing guys there, right?
Yeah, they were using it as their ECHL team, but now it's official. Again, the Allen Americans is where you can find likely Jackson Parsons, and we'll see who else gets squeezed out in Belleville. That's Brandon Piller. I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.